Oh, let me get back to my window. So,
Oh my God, we're live. I don't even have lipstick on.
we are. Oh, Katie, please put your lipstick on. Get it together, Katie. Jesus.
There we go.
Hey, y'all, it's a family show. So welcome to our March book club. I am so excited to be back here with my lovely co-host, Katie Clancy, who now has her lipstick on.
I do.
I'm in my hangout clothes. Katie, not so much. Katie, if you're done with your makeup, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh, funny you should ask. Hang on a sec. So this is actually literally funny because we got on the call like 15 minutes early and we were chatting. And I was like, well, you know, Lissa's going to have her beer and she's probably expecting me to have my wine. And actually I don't. This evening, am having a vodka soda. And I was like, I'm so original. And then Alyssa said, really? What?
Because I brought mine, yes. Well, so this is a cool company. I want to hear about yours because this is a local company. It's called Durham Distillery. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they serve pre-made drinks in the can, which I think is super cool. So my lovely wife got me one of these yesterday, and I figured I had to save it for book club and give it a try. But you have a special vodka too.
I do. So as many of you know, I live on Cape Cod, and this is Oysterville Vodka, a Cape Cod company. It's empty. I didn't empty it tonight.
Whoa, okay. You are not.
No. This was from Christmas. There was one drink left in it. But it's just really cool. And like, I don't know that much about vodka. I'm learning about it. And I've tasted a few different ones, and I don't know, this is quite tasty. Any vodka lovers out there, please educate me on what I should be checking out. Also, what I want to mention is my environmentally responsible glass straw. Very fragile. It probably won't last long because me, but tonight, here's my glass straw.
I love it. That is so fun. So let's dive right in. I'm drinking a little bit stiffer of a drink because Katie, I don't know about you, but I struggled every step of the way through this book. But I was joking with Katie earlier today because I want to make this clear, and I want to kick off the show talking about that because I selfishly, when we decided to launch book club, I am doing this because I want to grow too. I don't just intend to, just read books that I love and not kind of grow and expand as I do. And I know that I'm going to struggle with a book like this, like a book like next month's The Compound Effect or Dare to Lead or 5 Second Rule. Like those are my love language.
Yeah.
So how were you with this? Because I was like, oh my God, when is this book going to end?
So here's this thing. The thing, everybody was probably required to read this book in high school. I was probably required to read this book in high school. I did not read this book in high school. Whatever. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be all grown up about this. And I'm the audio girl. I listen to all my books. So I said, I'm going to plug this thing. I was like, oh, it's one of those books. But I said, you need to listen to it because if it is something that, someone somewhere decided like, oh, every young person should be exposed to this book. Like this is important. And also super Mel Robbins fangirl, this is one of her favorite books. I'm like, fine, I will pay attention to this book. And honestly, I got a lot out of it. And there was a lot of lessons in it that I thought were super surface. That I'm like, okay, follow your dream, follow your heart, yada, yada. We all know all that stuff. And I thought that's not what our book club is about. We're not just going for the low hanging fruit. We want to kind of dig deep. And like, if we're going to spend the time, and here's the thing, the people that I know that are in our book club don't have a lot of spare time. God knows, right. And I do not have a lot of spare time. So I'm not going to waste my time on something that I'm not going to waste my time. If I'm say I'm going to read a book, I'm going to go get in that book and get what there is to be gotten from it. And I actually got some pretty cool stuff from it. I don't know.
I know. I mean, like that was kind of one of those moments. So I, like many, was probably required to read this in high school.
Were you good about doing homework in high school?
I was really good at reading Cliff Notes in high school. I was not a huge reader. Actually, I was telling my son this the other day. I became a really good reader, and I became
that phone. Sorry.
a really good reader because I didn't like reading, and so I learned how to do it.
Wait, stop. You became a really good reader because you didn't like reading. Go on.
Then I could do it faster.
Oh, because you like to win.
Yes, I like to win, but I wanted to be outside. I wanted to play sports. I wanted to do other stuff. And so I said the same thing to our son, Ryland. I said, get really good at reading, and then it doesn't take as long, and it's not so bad to do it. And
that's brilliant logic.
It really is. And what's funny now is I think there's, as you said, you and I don't have a lot of spare time. In my early life, there's no way I could have finished a book in a month. Like, no way. And I had way more time, but I became a fast reader. I became a good reader. And I started to figure out also the types of books I enjoyed to read. But I, like you, recommitted, and I read the whole book, and I thought to myself, wow, I get why this is such a highly regarded book, because there is so much to be taken from it. I came up with, let's see, like 4 or 5 big takeaways, and we'll kind of jump right in. So obviously there's sort of this constant theme throughout the story. So, well, before I do that, Katie, give us a recap for those on the show that did not read the book. Give us a quick recap of the book.
Yes, because everybody, if this is your first time at book club, one of the things that we tell you about book club is you don't have to read the book. That's the best part of our book club.
We have to read the book, though.
We have to read the book. And actually, I think it's important at this point because we might have some new people in our book club, you need to know where we're coming from. So this book club came about from Alyssa's very selfish request. She was like, I really want to read all of these books that will make me better this year, but I just don't know how to do it. Maybe I'll start a book club.
Talk about these books
and talk about them. That's the thing, to talk about them. And so we were just talking one day, and she's like, you want to do this book club with me? I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. So we're really just in it for ourselves, because we know if we didn't have this accountability, we wouldn't do it. So the fact that you're getting something out of it is like huge bonus for us. We're like super.
Welcome to our world.
True. But what we wanted in half seriousness, we wanted you to know, because we are just as bad as you about getting this stuff done, is that you don't have to read it. We know you want the content. We know you want the lessons. And so we are doing the work for you. Obviously, you're going to get more out of it if you do the reading. Like, that's ideal. But if you don't, like, no guilt, no judgment. We will feed it to you right here. Cliff's Notes with a little flair. So this book is a parable, basically, about this shepherd guy who goes on this quest to follow his heart. And he is guided by all these different people along the way. And one person tells him to go here and he's going to find his treasure there. And another person, all these different people give him all different kinds of wisdom. And I'm going to miss some of the parts and pieces, but the
details.
Honestly, like when I'm reading, I'm like, I know where this is going. And you do know where it's going in a lot of ways, but then you're like, I really needed to hear that. And so he's a shepherd, and he does his shepherd thing. And he actually did go and learn how to read. So for the times, that wasn't something that a shepherd would do, but he had gone to school. And do you remember why? Why had he gone to school? Like, what had he? Oh, what it was. His father wanted him to be a priest or something.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted him to, right? Remember?
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not into this. But along the way, he learned how to read, which most shepherds don't. So he's this educated shepherd. He wanted to travel. He wanted to just see the world. And he said, being a shepherd would be a great way to do that. And he learned a lot from his sheep. And there's a lot of interesting stuff about the dynamics of that. And he had actually a good life. He didn't have a bad life. He wasn't suffering. He wasn't in need. He was quite satisfied and fulfilled in so many ways because he was pursuing the dream that he had, which was to travel.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. When he was doing his shepherd thing, there was this abandoned like chapel or tabernacle or something where he would go and he'd bring the sheep and they'd all, huddle down. And it was just a really cool place, like a tree. That's what it was. A tree had grown up in the important part of the church. I should know this. Anyway, trees in a place where it shouldn't be, but it's kind of cool that it's there. And so he'd go there and he'd take a nap and he kept having this recurring dream about the pyramids or something. So he went to like a gypsy woman, right?
Yes.
Did you read it, Elsa? Did you actually read it this month?
I didn't get to the end. I couldn't do it.
Real tough.
I've got probably 20 pages left.
Okay, you know how it ends because when you open it, you're like, I know where this is going. And that's the thing about it that makes you not want to read it because you know where it's going. But it was really kind of cool. So he meets this gypsy woman. She says, go to the pyramids, your treasure is there, and your payment to me is going to be 10% of your treasure. And he's like, you're crazy. There's nothing there, but I want to travel, so I'm going to go there anyway. And she's like, okay. And she's a little crazy. So, and then he meets an Englishman. He meets the Alchemist. He meets 4 people. I can't remember all of them. It's actually not that important. I mean, it probably is. In English class, it will be important if you were being tested on it. But if you're really looking for the lessons that come,
there are no tests.
No tests.
No questions designed to confuse you. Like you're good. You're good.
You are going to college, I promise.
Yeah.
So anyway, he thinks that his destiny is he's one of the merchants he meets the merchant's daughter a couple of times, and she's just captivating and brilliant and wonderful and all these things. And he's like, this is great. I'm going to marry her and it's going to be great. And that's what we're going to do. But he has to keep on going because he finally realizes that his treasure is somewhere across the water and he's got to go and find this treasure by the pyramids. Long, long journey. And here's the predictable part. The journey is, in many ways, the treasure. In many ways, it is. Would you please get that squeaky away from her? Thank you very much. Anybody else have children? You have children? You have children.
Yes. Mine are coloring or doing something. I don't know.
Well, mine aren't. So he gets all this wisdom along the way. He's challenged in incredible ways on his journey. But the part that actually got me that I did not predict was that he gets to the pyramids and there actually is something to dig for, sort of. And he gets there and he finds, sees the scarab beetles or whatever, and he starts digging because that's the sign. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't expect this, that there'd actually be treasure here at the pyramid, like they said. That's not at all how I thought it would go. I spoke to you about the squeaky. Could you please take it away from her? Thank you. So he's digging and digging and digging.
It's the dog's journey, Katie.
It's the dog's journey. The dog is like, throw the squeaky. So he gets there and he's digging. And now I'm actually like really listening to the story because it's taken a turn that I didn't predict. Digging. And then these refugees so there was wars going on in the desert that he was trying to pass through this desert. And they're refugees from the desert. And basically they beat the crap out of him and say, we're going to take your treasure. and it's bad. Like they beat him terribly. And the last guy who has the last shot at like beating him up goes, like, you're pretty sure he's going to die. And I'm like, this is not how I predicted this to end. And he goes, you're not going to die. Okay. I have come to this same place for the same treasure and I didn't find it. I did have like this dream over and over, this like stupid, ridiculous dream, like that there was some abandoned church and a tree growing up and the treasure was under there, but it's stupid and ridiculous. So good luck, go home. He didn't know where this guy came from or anything. And thanks for all the stuff we stole from you. And which they did. And the shepherd wakes up and he's like, holy crap. Oh my gosh. This is the treasure. So he hightails it back to, oh, wait, put the brakes on. In the midst of all this, all his like travels to get to the pyramids, he's traveling with the alchemist and he obviously learns a lot from him and stops in an oasis and meets Fatima, this amazing woman who is not the merchant's daughter, who is like, I'm just going to stay at the oasis and be with her. But Fatima tells him like, I am a woman of the desert. I know how this works. You need to go. You'll be back.
I was wondering why you were leaving that out. And I was like, maybe something happens at the end.
I forgot about Fatima. Okay. Whatever. So there's Fatima. And he's like, oh, I don't want to leave Fatima. She's so awesome. And so he leaves her. He leaves the entire desert again, goes back over the ocean, back to his land, and he goes back to the church where he'd been with the sheep and all this jazz, digs at the base of the tree, and of course finds a literal treasure with all the gold and everything. And he goes back to the gypsy lady, gives her her cash, but then he buries the rest, doesn't he? He buries it back up. You don't know because you didn't finish it. Buries the rest. And then he goes back to Fatima, which I found deeply gratifying. But he knows he's got this treasure. And anyway, there's a whole big part about the heart and listening to the heart. And the heart tells you to stop. And that I thought was really fascinating. Did you?
Well, I mean, like, to me, so here's what part of why I struggled with it. I struggle with stories that I do this in movies too, and it drives my wife nuts. I struggle with anything that I can figure out in the first 10 minutes. Like, I'm in it for the story.
Yes.
And if and it is fascinating. And like, don't get me wrong, this is like one of the best books of all time in the sense, like, it is an amazing story. But I felt like my biggest takeaway, and the reason why this was number one, is he was so focused on continuing this journey, no matter how difficult it got, that to me, I was thinking, at the end of the day, what the treasure is going to be is his journey.
Yes. Yeah.
And in so many ways, like, for me, that's a huge takeaway, because I think so often we're kind of going through the motions in life and going through, you know, how hard life is with kids or with work or with all of these things. And we sort of forget to stop and smell the roses and soak up the journey and learn each step of the way as we go. And to me, that was the big takeaway. It's like the journey is the gift. And you can't get distracted by these other influences or other things happening. You have to be in it for the actual trip, the journey.
Like, I know that, like, I know that, like, and we all know that,
but we're not
everybody has heard that, like, success is a journey, you know, it's not a destination, blah blah blah. But like, what about your goals? Are those not important?
No, they are. But I mean, you say something to me all the time that, like, and I was like, Katie is like ringing in my head throughout this book. You can't be attached to the result. You have to be attached to the action. And
be
to me,
activity, not the outcome.
Yeah. And like, to me, that was it. He was attached to the activity of the journey. He felt his heart was so tied to making it through this journey that to some extent, the outcome didn't even matter at the end of it because he'd gained so much getting to that outcome.
Yeah. So, and I have found that message has made a huge impact on my business. So that I'm no longer like I have goals. I have ambitious goals and they scare me. But and I know like I take my big goal and then I back it up and I back it up and I back it up to all the little things that have to happen to get to that goal. And I hammer away at those. And for some reason, I've heard this message enough. There's an element of faith, of just believing without any evidence that it's going to happen, which I don't know how you get that. You just have to take it.
So for me, it's one of those things where it's almost like this idea of blind faith. Of people, I mean, people who are super religious, like they operate throughout their life on something that they don't know, like they know in their heart what.
But they don't have hard evidence.
Right. Exactly. And so that's my point of like, my thought is, you know, life is always going to get in the way of whatever our goals are. You know, like kids get sick, people die, people live, like things happen.
Yeah.
And I think to me, what I really took from this is, you know, even though life is going to get in the way, so even though all of these obstacles got in his way, we can't let life disrupt what our heart really desires. And what our heart really desires is sort of this end goal. Like you have really ambitious business goals, but a lot of those ambitious business goals are feeding something deeper inside of you.
Bingo.
And feed something that you want for your family and you want for your life. Like it's feeding the things that I tell a lot of people, a lot of our clients, the business has to feed the things that you want written on your headstone. It can't, you're not going to put your deal count on your headstone.
Nope.
You're not going to talk about, you know, all of the things that you did professionally on your headstone. No. But it has to feed something deeper than that. And I think that's the key is like, we can't get distracted by the things that happen on a daily basis. We have to be in it for the long game, that action and that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of fascinated by, all right. So last month we talked about Mel Robbins and the 5-second rule and I'm going to use the word heart, as the emotion piece. So, you know, what Mel says, and I agree with, is you get this intuitive message, you know, that you need to go do something. All right. So that's what our friend, the shepherd, was like, I've got to go do this thing. I've got to go find this treasure. His heart is like, no, you're good. You know, you've got everything you wanted. You're traveling. You've got this wonderful woman that you want to marry. Like, you've got these sheep that you love and you have this great relationship and you've got work. Your life is complete. You're fine. Why would you dare to go to the unknown and cross these deserts where there's wars happening at you? For what? Stay right where you are.
So what the Alchemist says to him, or what is said in the Alchemist, sorry, I don't know that it was the Alchemist that said it to him, but they said, to realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation. And for like that to me is like hitting the nail on the head of like the destination of where we want to end up. Is normally what we would call in day-to-day life our dream or our goal. And we have to live each day the same way that he's living in his journey of how are we getting closer to that dream or to that destination? And that's very much how he was. I know. I was like, damn you, high school English book.
I know. Maybe they knew something. Oh,
totally. I don't know. I think that like they should make you read high school English books when you're 35 or 40. And like when you actually would understand what the hell they're talking
like so many things that we did in high school, I was not ready for. I'm like, this is stupid.
Right. But so then take this a step further. So then when you're talking about, okay, if you to realize someone's your destiny is the person's only obligation, then they have the most famous quote of all from The Alchemist, which is, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it.
Yes.
So you just have to be able to figure out what the hell it is that you want.
I don't know.
I know. Nobody knows what they want to be when they grow up.
Let's take a minute here and say hi to some of our friends that are.
Yes. I haven't even looked. Oh, Katie Lance is here.
Katie Lance, we have a celebrity.
She's always on the road. I'm so excited Katie Lance is here. I think my wife is still here.
She
might be putting kids to bed. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, Armandi said she wasn't going to be able to make it, but she's here.
Oh.
Hey, and what's up?
My son's second grade teacher is here. Hi, Miss Easley. How are you?
Hi, Miss Easley. Miss Easley, what are you drinking tonight? You're drinking.
She has the wax museum right first thing in the morning. My Ryland is going to be Babe Ruth. It's pretty amazing.
That's kind of a big deal.
As a lifelong Yankee fan, I know I'm in enemy territory with you.
Whoa. Time. Did we not talk about this?
I don't think we did. But I mean, different show, different time.
Different. Yeah. Okay. All right. See how we can be friends no matter what.
Yes. It's like a wolf pack. Like a wolf pack. No. So getting back to our point, because this will go completely off the rails. So my feeling is my second takeaway is you have to know that you will fail somewhere along the way. Oh, and I think he kind of got to this point where, like, you sort of get to this point. Hey, Rye. Here's Babe Ruth now.
Ryland.
Say hey.
What's up, buddy? He can't hear me.
Can you hear?
Yeah. Hey, Ryland, it's Miss Katie. How you doing? Good. So what are you doing tomorrow at school?
I'm doing a wax museum.
What?
Who are you going to be?
I'm going to be Babe Ruth.
Yes. That's awesome.
Say go Yankees.
Go
Yankees. Hey, your teacher's on here right now.
You see Miss Easley's on? You say, hey, Miss Easley.
She didn't say that. Oh, that's so cool.
We're going to get back to the show. I love you. Sleep good.
I'll say my speech.
Oh, you're going to say your whole speech. Okay. It's really quick, everyone.
All right. No, that we're here for that. Go.
I'm going to say my whole speech.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Babe Ruth. I was born on February 6, 1895 in Boston, Maryland. I have 0 siblings. My parents are Kate Scamberger Ruth and George Hermander. I grew up in Big Town. I went to St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys. My first job was a baseball player. I married Claire Muir and had 2 children. I am one of the stars baseball players. One interesting fact about me is that the Yankee Stadium that was built in 1923 was often called the house that Ruth built. I was 50 years old when I died. Thanks for coming to our wax museum.
Crushed it.
Dude, that's amazing. You
so good. Didn't even have his paper. He's just
busted it out.
Crushing it.
Oh my gosh. That is so amazing. That is so, you straight A's. If I was your teacher, all A's, buddy. You're awesome.
Right. Bedtime. I love you.
Good night.
Well, that was awesome. I'm super excited about that tomorrow.
That was really sweet.
Interrupting his programming.
No, that's okay.
No, so I think what is so key about all of this is, like, once you define what it is that you're after, what you want to do, you have to kind of feel like you're willing to risk it all. Like, this guy came near death. Like, he thought he was going to die when those guys beat him up. And, like, he thought he was leaving what he kind of felt like was almost like the love of his life, or like an opportunity for the love of his life, all to go after this journey and do these things. And like, to me, that is like the drive you have to have when it's something that comes from inside here.
Absolutely. So, but what I think a lot of people struggle with is, what do I want? Like, what is in my heart? And I think everybody's looking for this massive, like they just know what it is. And that's a mistake. And that's one of the things that I learned from this is you might have a dream, literally a dream. It might just be little things. And you just have to, I love the way the Alchemist and the 5-second rule sort of like blends together.
It was a good follow-up, unintentionally, but it was a good follow-up.
Alyssa, dude, it was intentional. We totally meant to do this. Yeah. We've got them all planned out there. No, yeah. It was luck. So, but it does connect in such a beautiful way, so that you're going to get little signals along the way. And then it is probable that eventually you're going to get like, oh, wait a minute. All of this made sense together, all of this. And then you get the big realization that you're going to go somewhere. I want to take a little turn with this though, because this whole concept of heart, and we talked a little bit about this before we went live. Ellen, that's loud.
I mean, I just brought my kid on here, so.
Well, I'm not afraid to bring mine on either, but she's not ready to recite her Babe Ruth thing yet.
That's true.
The concept of heart. So in Mel Robbins' book, talked about heart. Well, like I said, heart is the emotional piece that wants to keep you safe, right? That's sort of what we had. Oops, something's happening here. That's trying to keep you safe and try to keep you from changing. And it kind of like went bing to me when I was listening to the book about how the heart got quiet a couple of times for him. I was like, how do you make your heart get quiet? Because my heart's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? No. Stop, danger.
Yeah.
Because your heart, honestly, is a mechanism, and it's your reptilian brain trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you in what you know, because they know that whatever you're in right now, even if it's unpleasant on some level, it knows you can survive it. You can live with it, and it is, you can deal with it, and it's a known quantity. And to go outside of that, well, it could be anything. It could be really dangerous. So your heart's like, no, let's not do that. So what makes the heart go quiet was one thing. And then I had another thought, and I'm going to go out on a crazy limb here, because I actually do go to church. I'm not crazy, but like we had this Ash Wednesday service last night. Raise your hand if you go to church. Okay,
I'm gonna like half raise my hand.
Occasionally, it doesn't matter really.
Like if I went more, I'll put it that way.
No, I never used to go, but like life happened. I was like, oh, I'll check this whole thing, and I found a church. Like, it's great, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the point is the message that came last night about Ash Wednesday. The one little piece that she said was letting your heart break. And so when we're all so afraid of going against what our heart says, because why? I don't know. Because maybe it's right, that it's dangerous. But if you go for it and you let your heart break, and I have to give me a second. I need to find the quote because I took a picture of the message. I'm going to read this to you right now. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Let your heart break. Let it crack open. Let it fall apart. Like, think about that. Like, your heart is telling you all the time to stay safe, stay in one place, don't change. But if you let it break, you let it crack open, let it fall apart, so you can see its secret chambers, the hidden spaces where you have hesitated to go. There's stuff in there that you gotta go. You've got to kind of break your own heart. You got to go against it sometimes. And that is corroborated by the stuff that Mel Robbins is talking about. And that is what fired me up about this.
It goes back to Brene Brown too, where she talks so much about being armored. And
yes,
that we do all these things to armor ourselves so that we don't break and we don't hurt ourselves or others or all of these things. I'm like, there's kind of beauty in that mess of you can sort of figure out like what's on the inside or how you really feel about things. And like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that like, I mean, I know a good amount of my friends and even myself, it's like when you hit rock bottom is sort of when you kind of find out what you really want or need and do.
And honestly, you and I both studied successful people, and so many of them have come from a broken place, either like a tragic break or a self-imposed break because they, whatever, their parents wanted them to study law and they're sitting in the middle of a law class. They're like, screw this is not for me. And they go to the complete unknown and struggle for a while, but ultimately find themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what that's about.
Well, I think it's so important. So like in the book, they talk about, and I'm going to butcher how they say it probably.
That's okay.
I said maktub, which might not be right. I don't know.
I forget how he pronounced it.
But it's a loosely translated. It means it is written or everything that happens for a reason.
Yep.
And I mean, so in my church going days and probably yours, it's this idea that like God has your path laid out for you. And even if you're not a religious person, like this doesn't have anything to do
and that's
with
religion. Like I shouldn't have even said I got this from church.
No,
it's not even like a God thing.
No, I agree. Like, and that's why I say that. Like, it's not a God thing. It's a universe thing. And the idea that our paths are sort of outlined for us and our fate is kind of written in the universe by whomever, whether it's God or whatever, to me, that sort of hits home because to me, it makes it not a choice of whether or not you let yourself, like you look inward enough to figure out what your purpose is. To me, it makes it almost like a mandate. You have to figure out what's inside of you because if you don't, you can't live out that purpose.
Yep.
Am I going way too deep for?
No. The thought that just came to my head is like, all right, so why do people end up depressed, unfulfilled, like, flat, all that? And it's because they don't do that. They don't listen.
I mean, to me, that's the idea of it, of like, if you look at yourself as a participant in your life, rather than the director of your life, so to speak, it can feel kind of like, oh, I'm out of control. I'm not getting to do this. When in reality, if you did the internal work to figure out what is my life's purpose, you could be an active participant. Like there's a difference between being a passive participant and being an active participant.
Yep. That's 100% true.
They also say in The Alchemist, while you're kind of getting there, they say no matter what he does, meaning anyone, every person on earth plays a central role in the history of the world. And normally he doesn't know it.
Yep.
And I love that point because it's so true. So many of us.
Wait, that's the thing. Normally he doesn't know it.
Yeah, we don't really know like what impact we're having on the world. And, the smallest thing that you can do has an impact on the world. Things that your parents said to you that now shaped who you are. That teacher.
Time out for that. Stop for a minute. Now, as a parent, aren't you like,
I know, I'm like, shit, what did I say?
Oh, is that one of the things that they're going to take with them? What am I doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think actually the fascinating part to me is it didn't teach me to be more guarded with my words, but it did teach me to be more thoughtful about my words. Because if you really look at it and you say, everything I say and do has a role in the history of the world, you might pause to think about what you say or
Yeah.
pause to think about what you do. And for somebody like you or I who are just inherently emotionally charged people, where we get ideas and we want to run and we want to go fast, like that moment of pause is a really important and underrated step. I mean, what
True.
I learned to do in my adult life, which I did not do early on in my career and definitely not in high school, is instead of going slow, I figured out I don't go slow. I don't like to go slow. So instead of doing that, I've surrounded myself with people who make me pause.
Really?
And that for me is so much better because they're on board when I'm going fast and they know the plan, but I'm one of those build it as we launch it people. And that's not always the best method. So surrounding myself with people that will ask questions, tough questions,
Yeah.
to force me to think through things and force me to do kind of that internal work really is advantageous for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really interesting because we talk about how you and I are very similar, and it's easy to make yourself wrong for the way you are. Because we read these books and we're like, oh, it seems like it would be smart if I was slow and thoughtful. I'm not. I'm fast and reckless, and I'm wrong, and I do everything wrong, and I mess stuff up, and all I do is just like I'm a crazy person. And like, no, no, no. You bring something really important to the table, but as
Right.
the maturity piece is when you recognize, yes, my mojo has deep value, but it needs balance, and to bring, like you said, surround yourself with people who can bring that balance is really.
Yeah. So here's a crazy like moment.
What?
So I think the reason why most high schoolers don't get out of this what they should get out of this is because most high schoolers are in that phase of their life that a lot of us end up in for a large amount of our lives of just trying to fit in and just trying to like go with the flow and be like everybody else. And really like this idea of being different and sort of going against the grain is not only one of the simplest things we can do, but it's one of the greatest things we can do.
Okay,
because
stop.
that we're
Is,
all great,
wait,
like different is
no,
great.
that's kind of everything, Alyssa. That's everything.
And I didn't even finish the book.
See, you guys, Alyssa didn't finish the book, and she's getting the value. So no, but I think that's really important also for people. Like, I have a kid in high school, and she could probably hear right now, but like that's all she wants to do is fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And but so and I see this struggle with her, and also I've definitely seen it with myself. Like, you get these intuitive urges to go explore something, but you're like, nobody else is doing that. Even as an adult, you're like, this is weird. Why would I even go try this? But you must, it's your imperative to pursue it. And it's the bold, and that's, I think, the best thing that, as parents too, that we can do for our kids is be like, nope, you got a thought, you got to think, you got something kind of bubble up, and I got you. Let's go do it. Like, support them in doing that, because sometimes, and this is again on the parenting theme, sometimes our kids are going to want to do something that's different from what we would do, but it's their thing. And like supporting that is the like most important thing that we can do.
Yeah.
And maybe the hardest too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think like that's the thing is like there's that whole what was it? It was Apple that was think different. Like
Yep.
that was the tagline. Like I think that's so important because having people that think differently than you are such an asset. And my thought and what I say to any of our clients is I always say your thoughts become your things.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to think differently than others, and you have to think big when you're thinking differently than others.
All right.
And,
So go ahead. Go finish it. Finish your thought.
I think that that's so important because if we're not doing that, we're ending up with a world of all of the same thing.
Bunch of high schoolers. And actually, if you ask anybody if they wanted to repeat high school, Lenny, would you want to do high school again? She's a big no.
I mean, I was great in high school. Like I loved high school, but I would not do it again. No way.
You liked it? High school is hell. But anyway.
No, I was into high school. I loved high school, but
oh, that's awesome. I'm glad for you.
I'm like the one, I guess.
Lenny, did you have to read The Alchemist? You did, of course you did.
We just read it earlier.
You just read it what?
We read it first semester.
First semester this year?
You should have come to book club tonight.
She did not come to book club. She's probably doing her other mountains of homework. Is that what you were doing?
She's thinking different.
She was watching The Bachelor. Nope, she was watching The Bachelor. Shame on you. You need to do your homework.
Hey, to be different is the greatest and simplest thing you can do.
No, we're talking about actually a kid who is one of the most like dutiful, like she hammers down. So, but what most of the time, what are the important takeaways? So for the people who didn't, so Deanne is saying middle school was terrible. Deanne, girl, you are right. It was
well, middle school is awful for everyone because like you're awkward.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know who I am. What's happening anymore? Yeah, it's weird. I just like anybody from like 12 to 18. Like my heart goes out to you. It's hard to be you. It's about to get real good for you though. This kid's going to college in the fall, and she is gonna crush it.
Oh, college is the best.
College is the best. I'll read The Alchemist in college like 10 times. It was awesome.
I'll Google some Cliff Notes in college. And, yeah.
Well, a couple. So I think the big takeaways that people could get from this is sort of the old adage, the success is the journey, not a destination. Blah, 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 blah. Happiness is a journey, not a destination. And you've got to travel that journey, and the journey goes like this, and then it goes like this, and you just don't know where it's going. You just have to be committed to the ride, because if you want to cruise along like this, that's fine. Because who is speaking? That's fine. You're going to cruise along down here, and there's nothing really fun happening down here. But if you're going to really commit to life, you're going to commit to the ride and the ups and the crashes and all that stuff. And you just gotta, like I said, and I'm going to say it publicly, I've said it maybe before, but like the book I'm going to write is compost that shit. Like shit comes in your life.
Your thoughts become your things.
Yes.
So now it's out there.
Damn it. Okay.
I love it. No, it's true. It's so true. And I think that that's so key. And like, to me, the big takeaway from this is like, this is a story in real life. Most of us are not so committed to the ride that we're not getting distracted by life. Like, I'm a big person that's like, I really believe in surrounding yourself with people who not only lift you up, but are there to catch you when you fall and support you in that way. And I think that is not discussed in this story, because this kid is like insanely strong.
He's actually got his act really together.
Yeah, but like most people, when the ride goes kind of haywire, are not strong enough, and this isn't a knock on them, I'm not strong enough to just keep going. Like, I need the people in my life that are like, you need to keep going. This is important to you, and remind me of that sort of stuff, because without that, it's easy to get off the ride. It's the same way that, like, if you never say out loud, I'm going to write the book, you're the only person that you're letting down.
I know. And that's why I keep saying it. And honestly,
now you're going to let me down if you don't write the book. And so I'm going to keep on you about it.
Okay. Oh, bad connection. I'm sorry. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. What? Sorry. Lydia, what's wrong with our internet?
It's awful. It's awful. No, I think that's so important, because it's so underrated in terms of like, I think society tells us like you should be that strong, like you should be able to conquer anything. And like, I mean, if you've ever read a motivational quote in your life, you're just like, who are these people? I just want to punch them in the face sometimes. But like the reality is that strength doesn't always come from in here. That
No.
strength can always come from out here too.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
the right mix of heart and the people around you, I think, can really be a magical mix.
Absolutely. So the journey is where it's at. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. There's a lot of little things in there too, in that support and all that. We need to tell people about what next month's book is.
Oh my God.
And we need to tell them when we have crazy things happening next month.
We do. So Katie and I, when we had this idea for book club, we were like, first Thursday, never gonna miss a Thursday. and we both texted each other on the same day this month, and we're like, can't do the first Thursday next month. And because we will both be in transit. So instead, this is not an April Fool's joke. We are going to be live on the Compass South Facebook page at 8 p.m. on April 1st, which is Monday, April 1st, talking about the compound effect, which I have started the compound effect. And trust me, after reading this thing, I'm like, oh my God, my love language. We're back to a book that I know I'm going to finish. So I'm so excited about the compound effect. It talks all about kind of the compounding effect of the small little actions that we take in any given day, and how that not only makes us successful, but helps us achieve our goals, helps us make it happy, helps us make happier decisions, happier people. I've already started it. I am zooming through this book because it is like, again, it's my love language.
I have to say something about this book. So in 2015, I had been in real estate for, I don't know, whatever, a number of years. And I'd gone through the recession and it was really hard. When I say really hard, I'm not going to get it, but like, think of the hardest thing you've ever done. And it was really hard. And I was struggling and not sure if I was actually going to make it. And I, on the suggestion of actually a coach, I started waking up in the morning a little bit earlier. And part of my morning was reading a book, spending some time reading a book. And this was one of the books that was suggested to me. I was like, I'll try anything. I am open. Whatever, because obviously what I'm doing is not working. So I started reading this book, strangely, a little bit every day. A little bit every day. And that's the key. I didn't sit down and hammer through it one day or 2 days or even 3 days or a week. I read a little bit of this book over time. And I went from, so I had whatever my goals were. I was 3/4 of the way through the year, and I was not even 50% at my target goal for, things I wanted to get done. I started reading this book, and I did some, I also was writing in the morning as well. So it's not the only thing I did. But long story short, I was in 3/4 of the year, I had done X amount of business. In the last quarter of the year, after I started habits of this, I almost doubled what I did in this. And I don't know how. It's
Little by little.
But suddenly people started calling. Why did they start calling? I don't know. I don't know what happened. I can't put my finger on it. And that's the thing that people don't understand. And that's why this book makes such a difference. You think you need to swing for the fences every time you're after something. And that's not the case. And I think we're going to find some connections with all these things these books that we've looked at, like that one step that the little shepherd guy took in the desert, in the sand, doesn't seem like a big deal. Because you probably can't even tell he went even any further. But then he took another one, and he took another one. He took another one. And then before he knew it, he was on the other side. He was at the freaking pyramids. And then he head back and he was at the treasure. Like, this is how it happens. It's a compound, like that's not a compounding effect, but this tells you how, just like compound interest, the compound effect of your efforts over time, every day, absolutely add up. And they don't just add up, they multiply up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's definitely that book for all of us, especially coming out of the first quarter. So like the first quarter's over soon. And so like that's a really good book to read. Because I think those of us that are maybe not where we want to be and need to make some slight adjustments, I think that'll be really beneficial for all of us, no matter what industry you're in. So yes, please tell your friends.
Or no industry, yeah.
Yeah, as you guys heard, like we are a family show from 8
clearly
all the way up. But it is not a real estate show. I know that both Katie and I are actively in real estate, but this is not a real estate show. So tell your friends, bring anybody that's interested in reading success books, leadership books, and just yes, even teachers, Miss Easley.
Definitely teachers.
Come on by.
Definitely.
But we do this for the most part every first Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Compass South Facebook page. But next month you will find us Monday, April 1st, 8
4-1.
We cannot wait. The Compound Effect. I'm going to drop a link to the Compound Effect down below in case you'd like to purchase it. Anything else, Katie?
No, I'm super pumped. And if you want to know where to find Oysterville vodka, I can help you with that.
We'll drop a link down below.
Yes, I will drop a link down there.
Yes. So we are super excited. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this installment of Between the Lines, and we will see you next month. Bye, guys.
Out. Bye.